Hello, everyone. I am the sleep storyteller, and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before we begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a lot. Also, let me know in the comments, where are you from and what time are you listening? Now get comfortable and relax. The summer air was thick with warmth, carrying the distant hum of insects and the scent of freshly cut grass. Twilight painted the sky in streaks of violet and amber, casting long shadows across the perfectly trimmed hedges of number 4 Privet Drive. Behind one of the tightly shut windows sat Harry Potter, his forehead pressed against the cool glass, eyes fixed on the darkening sky. It had been weeks since he had last seen the towering spires of Hogwarts, weeks since he had heard the comforting hum of magic all around him. Here, in the dull, lifeless world of the Dursleys, he was nothing but an unwanted guest, treated with the same cold indifference as a piece of worn furniture. His heart ached for the castle, for the familiar scent of parchment and candle wax in the dim corridors, for the rustling of robes and the chatter of students. A sigh escaped his lips as he tore his gaze from the sky, resigning himself to another long night of silence. But just as he turned away, a flicker of movement caught his eye. A small, hunched figure stood in the middle of his room, wide eyes glistening in the dim light. Harry froze. The creature was no taller than a child, with bat-like ears and a nose like a squash. It wrung its hands nervously, large green eyes darting about the room. Harry Potter must not go back to Hogwarts, the creature whispered, its voice tremulous yet urgent. Terrible things will happen there. Dobby has come to warn you. Harry's heart pounded as he stared at the strange being. A house elf. He had read about them before, but never seen one in person. Dobby spoke in riddles, his voice thick with worry. Yet no matter how much Harry pressed, he refused to reveal the true danger lurking at Hogwarts. All he could do was plead. But when Harry insisted that nothing could keep him from returning, the elf's desperation turned to reckless mischief. With a snap of his fingers, a perfectly decorated cake levitated from the kitchen and came crashing down, splattering Aunt Petunia's masterpiece all over the Dursleys' pristine dining room. The aftermath was swift and brutal. Uncle Vernon's face turned a deep, blotchy red as he locked Harry away, hammering bars over the window as if he were a prisoner. Days passed in slow, suffocating silence. The night air was his only solace, the distant glow of the street lamp, outside a reminder that a world beyond Privet Drive still existed. He lay awake, listening to the rhythmic ticking of the clock, wondering if anyone out there remembered him. And then one night, salvation arrived. A soft tapping roused Harry from his restless sleep. He sat up, heart pounding, as a bright light illuminated the window. There, hovering just outside, was a battered old car floating, and inside, grinning at him, was Ron Weasley. "Come on, mate. We're getting you out of here." Harry barely had time to react before the Weasley twins appeared beside Ron, prying the bars from the window with effortless skill. With his trunk in hand and Hedwig hooting indignantly in her cage, Harry climbed into the flying Ford Anglia, his heart soaring as they sped off into the night. Below, Privet Drive faded into the darkness, and ahead, the world of magic awaited once more. The cool night air rushed past him, ruffling his hair as they flew over silent rooftops. The weight on his chest, the loneliness, the helplessness, it all melted away. He was free. As the lights of the Muggle world twinkled far below, Ron turned to him with a grin. "Wait till you see the Burrow, Harry. You'll love it." And as they soared through the star-strewn sky, Harry knew, deep in his heart, that he was finally going home. The world below was bathed in silver moonlight as the enchanted Ford Anglia soared above winding country roads and sprawling fields. Harry leaned against the window, his breath fogging up the glass as he took in the beauty of the night. For the first time in weeks, he felt truly alive. The gentle hum of the engine mixed with the rustling wind, and beside him, Ron grinned, his freckled face illuminated by the soft glow of the dashboard. Before long, the dark landscape gave way to a patchwork of hills, and nestled between them stood a house unlike any Harry had ever seen. It was a tall, crooked structure, as if several different homes had been stacked atop one another, with little concern for balance. The Burrow seemed held together more by magic than bricks and mortar, leaning slightly yet standing firm against the night. Warm light spilled from the windows, casting a golden glow onto the garden, where gnomes scuttled through the flower beds. As the car touched down gently in the field nearby, Harry stepped out, stretching his stiff limbs. The scent of earth and wildflowers filled the air, and in the distance, a rooster crowed softly, as if acknowledging their arrival. The door creaked open, and before anyone could take another step, a voice rang out through the stillness. "Where asterisk have asterisk you been?" Mrs. Weasley stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her face a mixture of relief and exasperation. Her fiery red hair was pulled back, and her apron was dusted with flour, as if she had been baking through the night. Ron gulped, but before he could stammer out an excuse, she strode forward and pulled him into a tight hug. "Boys, I thought something terrible had happened," she scolded, though her voice wavered with emotion. Flying an enchanted car across the country, you could have been seen. Harry braced himself for the same reprimand, but Mrs. Weasley's stern expression softened as she turned to him. Without hesitation, she pulled him into a warm embrace. "You must be starving, dear," she murmured, patting his back before ushering them inside. The moment Harry stepped through the door, he felt an overwhelming sense of comfort. The Burrow was nothing like the cold, sterile house of the Dursleys. The kitchen was a swirl of warmth and movement, the air thick with the scent of fresh bread and sizzling bacon. The wooden table was cluttered with knitting needles that worked on their own accord. A clock on the wall displayed each family member's location instead of time, and a large cauldron bubbled softly over the hearth. Everything was alive with magic as they settled around the table, Fred and George shot Harry knowing grins, clearly pleased with their successful rescue mission. Ginny, Ron's younger sister, peeked shyly from behind the kitchen door before darting away in a flurry of red hair. Mr. Weasley soon arrived, his eyes twinkling with excitement as he bombarded Harry with questions about Muggle objects, completely unaware of his wife's piercing glare. After breakfast, the days at the Burrow passed in a blissful haze. Harry helped dig gnome the garden, watching as the tiny creatures flew through the air with startled squeaks. He played Quidditch with Ron and the twins in the open field, the sun warm on his back, the laughter of the Weasleys filling the air. He had never known a home like this, full of noise, chaos, and love. But soon, the time came to prepare for the new school year, and their first stop was Diagon Alley. They stepped into the emerald green flames of the fireplace, feeling the familiar tug as they traveled through the Floo network. Harry stumbled as he landed, coughing as he brushed soot from his robes. But something was wrong. He wasn't in the bright, bustling streets of Diagon Alley. Instead, he found himself in a dark, shadowy alleyway where the very air felt heavy with secrecy. A sign above Red Borgin and Burke's asterisk, and through the murky window, Harry glimpsed sinister objects: a withered hand on a velvet cushion, a cabinet filled with glass eyes, a necklace that seemed to pulse with dark energy. His breath quickened. He had landed in Nocturne Alley, a place known for its dealings in the dark arts. Before he could retreat, a shadow loomed over him. A pale, thin man with sharp features stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with curiosity. "Lost are we?" he drawled. Harry's heart pounded, but before he could answer, another voice called out, "Harry!" Hagrid appeared, his massive form towering over the alleyway. With a firm grip, he pulled Harry away, leading him back to the safety of Diagon Alley's bright cobblestone streets. "There's places here, yeah, don't wanna be wanderin' into, Harry," Hagrid muttered, his eyes dark with concern. Reunited with the Weasleys, Harry's unease melted into excitement as they navigated the lively marketplace. Witches and wizards bustled past, parchment lists in hand, the air filled with the chatter of spell ingredients and the scent of fresh cauldron cakes. They visited Flourish and Blots, where the famous Gilderoy Lockhart was signing books, his dazzling smile almost as blinding as the golden embroidery on his robes. The moment Lockhart spotted Harry, his eyes lit up with opportunity. "Ah, Harry Potter," he exclaimed, grabbing Harry by the shoulder and pulling him into the crowd. Cameras flashed as Lockhart beamed. What a perfect moment. The young hero and I together at last. Harry squirmed under the attention, but the ordeal was made worse when Malfoy sneered from the sidelines, his father watching with cold amusement. Lucius Malfoy's voice was smooth as silk, yet laced with something venomous as he insulted the Weasleys, his fingers idly slipping something into Ginny's cauldron as he spoke. The tension lingered even as they left the shop. But soon, all thoughts turned to the coming school year. The excitement of returning to Hogwarts filled Harry's chest with anticipation. Yet, somewhere deep in his mind, a shadow of unease remained. Something was waiting for him at Hogwarts, and it was only a matter of time before it revealed itself. The summer days at the Burrow passed all too quickly, and before long, the time had come to return to Hogwarts. The morning air was crisp as they set off for King's Cross Station, the sky painted in hues of gold and pink. Harry and the Weasleys hurried through the bustling train station, their trunks rattling behind them as they approached the barrier between platforms 9 and 10. Mrs. Weasley fussed over their robes, reminding them to write home often, while Mr. Weasley gave Ron last-minute advice about the workings of Muggle trains, despite their irrelevance. Ginny clung to her mother's side, her face glowing with both excitement and nervousness. Her first year at Hogwarts awaited. With practiced ease, the older Weasley boys passed through the magical barrier, vanishing into the hidden platform 9 3/4. When it was Harry and Ron's turn, they stepped forward, only to collide painfully with solid brick. Harry staggered backward, rubbing his forehead as Ron groaned in frustration. The entrance was sealed. Panic set in as the clock ticked closer to departure. The Scarlet Hogwarts Express puffed impatiently in the distance, students leaning out of windows to say their last goodbyes. But no matter how hard they pushed, the barrier would not budge. "What do we do now?" Ron muttered, his eyes darting around the station. Harry's gaze fell upon the enchanted Ford Anglia parked just outside, its dull blue paint glinting in the sunlight. An idea sparked. "We could take the car," he suggested hesitantly. Ron hesitated, then grinned. Dad did asterisk say he modified it for emergencies. Without another thought, they scrambled back outside, shoving their trunks into the car's magically expanded boot. Hedwig hooted indignantly from her cage as Ron clambered into the driver's seat, hands shaking with excitement. "Hold on," he warned, gripping the wheel. With a sudden jolt, the car lifted into the sky, the station disappearing beneath them as they soared above London's rooftops. The city stretched far and wide below, glittering like a sea of tiny lights. At first, the flight was exhilarating. Wind rushed through their hair, the hum of the engine blending with the cries of seagulls as they followed the train tracks north. The world beneath them grew wilder, transforming into sprawling green countryside. But as the hours passed, the excitement waned. The sun dipped lower in the sky, and the car, no longer humming smoothly, began to shudder. "She's getting tired," Ron muttered, gripping the wheel as the car jolted. Harry's stomach twisted as Hogwarts finally appeared in the distance, its turrets silhouetted against the evening sky. Relief washed over him until the car gave one final sputter and suddenly plummeted. Branches rushed up to meet them as they crashed through a tangle of limbs and leaves. Wood groaned and snapped as the car skidded to a halt, wedged between the thick boughs of a massive tree. For a moment, all was still. Then the tree moved. With a shuddering creak, its thick branches whipped through the air, lashing out at the car like a living beast. Asterisk, it's the Whomping Willow, Ron shouted, scrambling to restart the engine. Harry barely had time to brace himself before the tree struck again. A thick limb smashing against the hood with a deafening asterisk crack. The car shuddered violently, metal groaning under the impact. Come asterisk on. Ron banged the dashboard as the engine spluttered. The tree reared back, preparing for another devastating blow. When, with a final desperate cough, the car leapt asterisk forward, jerking free from the branches and landing in a shaky heap on the damp grass below. Panting, Harry scrambled out just as the car gave an indignant asterisk honk. Then, with a final shudder, it revved its engine and sped off into the forbidden forest, vanishing between the trees. Ron gaped after it, his face a mask of shock. Dad's going to kill asterisk me before they could dwell on their disastrous arrival. The sound of approaching footsteps sent their stomachs plummeting. Turning slowly, they found themselves face to face with Professor Snape, his dark eyes glinting with something dangerously close to satisfaction. Well, well, he drawled, arms crossed over his black robes. If it isn't our wayward travelers. A chill settled over Harry as they were marched through the dimly lit corridors of Hogwarts, their shoes echoing against the stone floors. They were led straight to Professor McGonagall's office, where her stern expression did little to ease their growing dread. "Explain yourselves," she demanded, her lips pressed into a thin line. Ron shifted uncomfortably as he stammered out the details of their journey, while Harry braced himself for the worst. Snape stood beside McGonagall, fingers steepled in amusement. "I suggest expulsion," Snape said smoothly, setting such an asterisk fine example for the younger students. Arriving by asterisk illegal asterisk means. But before the punishment could be sealed, the office door creaked open, and in stepped Dumbledore. The headmaster's blue eyes twinkled with something unreadable as he listened to their tale. Then, after a pause, he spoke, his voice soft yet firm. "While what you did was reckless, I do not believe expulsion is necessary." Harry's heart lifted. McGonagall, though still displeased, sighed. "Detention. And if either of you step out of line again," she didn't need to finish. Relieved yet exhausted, they finally made their way to the Gryffindor common room. Warmth enveloped them as they stepped inside, the flickering fire casting golden light against the crimson tapestries. Despite the day's chaos, as Harry settled into his four-poster bed that night, he couldn't help but smile. He was back in the place that felt more like home than anywhere else in the world. And though he didn't know it yet, Hogwarts was waiting. Its secrets, its dangers, its whispers in the dark. The first few weeks back at Hogwarts were filled with the usual enchantment and wonder, late-night feasts in the great hall, the hum of whispered spells in bustling corridors, and the comforting rustle of pages turning in the library. Yet, beneath the surface of normalcy, something felt different. A strange unease seemed to settle over Harry, like a shadow just beyond the reach of candlelight. The unsettling feeling only grew stronger when the new defense against the dark arts professor, Gilderoy Lockhart, held his first lesson. His classroom was adorned with extravagant portraits of himself, each one capturing a different moment of his supposed heroics. Lockhart battling a banshee, Lockhart warding off vampires, Lockhart flashing his dazzling smile. The students exchanged wary glances as their professor, dressed in unnecessarily ornate robes, strode to the front with exaggerated confidence. Now, don't be shy, Lockhart beamed, flashing perfect white teeth. You're in the presence of asterisk greatness. Hermione sat up a little straighter, clearly eager to hear what he had to say. But Harry and Ron merely exchanged skeptical glances. Their doubts were confirmed when Lockhart decided to start the class with a practical demonstration. He pulled a cloth away from a small cage, revealing a horde of tiny, electric blue creatures with mischievous grins, Cornish pixies. "Let's see how you handle these little devils," he announced, dramatically throwing open the cage. The result was chaos. The pixies erupted from their confines in a whirlwind of shrieks and giggles, darting around the room at alarming speeds. They overturned desks, yanked at students' robes, and sent ink bottles flying in all directions. One particularly energetic pixie grabbed Neville Longbottom by the ears and hoisted him into the air, leaving him dangling helplessly from the chandelier. "Well, don't just stand there, do something," Ron shouted, dodging a pixie tugging at his hair. Lockhart, however, seemed utterly unbothered. With a flick of his wand, he declared, "Pesca pixie pesternomi," only for absolutely asterisk nothing to happen. The pixies shrieked with glee. Realizing Lockhart was of no help, Hermione rolled up her sleeves and took charge. "Immobulus," she cried, her wand sending a shimmering spell through the air. The nearest pixies froze mid-flight and dropped to the floor like fallen leaves. Ron hurried to rescue Neville, while Harry and Hermione rounded up the remaining creatures. By the time the last pixie was locked back in its cage, Lockhart was inspecting his nails, as if he had intended all of it to be a learning experience. "Ah, well," he said cheerfully. "That was asterisk a bit of fun, wasn't it?" Harry wasn't sure whether to laugh or groan. It was clear that their defense against the dark arts professor was more interested in his own fame than actual teaching. As the days passed, Lockhart's incompetence became more apparent. But Harry had bigger concerns weighing on his mind. It started with a whisper. The first time he heard it, he thought he was imagining things. A soft, slithering voice curling around the edges of his consciousness. kill asterisk. He stopped mid-step, his breath catching in his throat. Ron and Hermione, walking beside him, didn't react. "Did you hear that?" Harry asked, his voice hushed. "Hear what?" Hermione frowned, adjusting her bag. A cold sensation ran down Harry's spine. The voice was still there, low, chilling, unmistakably real. Yet neither Ron nor Hermione seemed to notice. Repetir kill asterisk. It faded as quickly as it had come, leaving behind only silence. Harry shook his head, trying to brush off the uneasy feeling gnawing at his insides. Maybe he was imagining things. Maybe he was just tired. But then, on Halloween night, the whispers returned. The great hall was filled with the warm glow of floating pumpkins, the flicker of enchanted candles dancing across the ceiling, which reflected a stormy, cloud-streaked sky. Plates overflowed with golden pastries and steaming mugs of cider, the air thick with laughter and the rich aroma of roasted pumpkin. But amid the celebration, the voice returned this time, clearer than ever. So hungry for so long soon, they will pay asterisk. Harry froze. The voice was close, moving. He barely heard Ron calling his name as he pushed away from the table, his feet carrying him toward the entrance of the great hall, following the ghostly whisper. His heart pounded as he turned down a corridor, the flickering torchlight casting eerie shadows along the stone walls. Then he saw it, a message scrawled across the wall in something dark, wet, and glistening. The chamber of SCCRETS has been OPENED. ENEMIES of the air, beware. Below the writing, a frozen figure hung by its tail from a torch bracket, Mrs. Norris, the caretaker's cat. Her fur was stiff, her eyes wide and unmoving. A puddle of water spread beneath her, as if she had been dragged from somewhere else. Harry's stomach dropped. The footsteps of students and teachers echoed behind him as they arrived at the scene, gasps filling the air. Filch was the first to react. He let out a strangled wail, his eyes wild with grief. "You," he snarled, rounding on Harry. "You did this." Before Harry could even form a protest, Dumbledore appeared, stepping forward with the quiet authority that instantly silenced the murmuring crowd. "She is not dead," he announced calmly, inspecting the petrified cat. "She has been cursed." Even so, unease settled over the gathered students like a heavy fog. The words on the wall loomed over them all, a warning whispered from the past, now bleeding into the present, as Filch continued to glare at Harry, suspicion burning in his watery eyes. Harry felt an uncomfortable truth settle in his chest. Something was waking at Hogwarts, and it had marked him as its first suspect. A heavy silence hung in the air as the words on the wall glistened in the dim torchlight, their message sinking deep into the minds of those gathered. The Chamber of Secrets had been opened, but by whom and why now? Harry could feel the weight of the students' stares pressing against him, their whispered suspicions slithering through the air like unseen serpents. The chill of uncertainty ran down his spine. He had heard something that no one else had. A voice, menacing and hungry. But how could he explain that without sounding completely mad? Dumbledore knelt beside Mrs. Norris, gently running his long fingers over her stiffened fur. His expression was unreadable, yet his eyes, twinkling beneath his half-moon spectacles, held a flicker of concern. "She is not dead," he repeated, his voice calm yet firm. "Merely petrified." Filch, his face twisted with grief, turned his sharp gaze on Harry. "It was him," he spat, his voice thick with fury. "He's done this. He's cursed my cat." Snape, his dark robes billowing as he stepped forward, regarded Harry with the same cold intensity he always did. "Perhaps we should question Mr. Potter further," he said silkily. After all, he was conveniently found at the scene of the crime. Before Snape could continue, Professor McGonagall interjected. "That is quite enough, Severus," she said, her lips pressed into a thin line. "We do not make baseless accusations at Hogwarts." The tension between the professors was palpable. But Dumbledore merely stood, brushing dust from his robes as he turned to Harry. "Tell me, Harry," he said gently, "why were you in this corridor?" Harry hesitated. He could still hear the echo of that voice in his mind, curling around him like an invisible thread. Rip Tear, kill asterisk. Would they believe him if he told them the truth? "I heard something," he admitted finally. A voice, a strange voice. McGonagall and Snape exchanged a glance. "A voice?" Snape murmured, arching a skeptical brow. "What kind of voice, Potter?" McGonagall pressed. Harry swallowed. It sounded like it was coming from the walls. It was hissing. The reaction was immediate. McGonagall paled slightly, and even Dumbledore's usually impassive face darkened with thought. Only Snape looked unfazed, though the corner of his mouth twitched, as if suppressing something, whether amusement or concern. Harry couldn't tell. Dumbledore held his gaze for a long moment, then sighed. "This is a troubling development," he admitted. "But I do not believe Harry had anything to do with this attack." Filch looked mutinous, but he dared not challenge the headmaster. Instead, with one final glare at Harry, he stormed away, his footsteps echoing down the empty corridor, with Mrs. Norris taken to the hospital wing, and the students ushered back to their dormitories. The castle settled into a restless hush. Yet, as Harry lay awake that night, staring at the canopy of his four-poster bed, the words on the wall haunted him. "The Chamber of Secrets has been opened." What did it mean? The next day, whispers followed Harry wherever he went. Some students cast him wary glances. Others avoided him entirely. Even members of Gryffindor eyed him with uncertainty. It wasn't until their next Transfiguration class that they got some answers. Hermione, ever the inquisitive one, raised her hand and asked Professor McGonagall outright, "Professor," she began hesitantly, "what exactly is Asterisk, the Chamber of Secrets?" The classroom fell into silence. Even the students, who had been lazily doodling on their parchment, sat up straighter. Their curiosity piqued. Professor McGonagall studied them all for a moment before sighing. "I suppose it is time you knew," she said, folding her hands in front of her. The class leaned in. Hogwarts was founded over 1,000 years ago by 4 great witches and wizards: Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin. She began. They built this school together, but over time, their ideas began to differ. While the other 3 welcomed all students who showed magical ability, Salazar Slytherin believed that only those of pure wizarding blood should be allowed to learn magic. A hush fell over the room. He eventually left the school, but legend has it that before he departed, he built a secret chamber somewhere within these walls. A chamber that could only be opened by his asterisk, true heir. Harry felt his pulse quicken. Inside the chamber, it is said that Slytherin left a monster, McGonagall continued. One that only his heir could control. A beast that would purge the school of all Muggle-born students. The weight of her words settled over the class like a thick fog. "But surely it's just a myth, right?" Ron asked, his voice quieter than usual. McGonagall hesitated. "It was Asterisk thought Asterisk to be," she admitted. "Until now, the meaning was clear. Someone had Asterisk opened the Chamber of Secrets, and the attacks, they were only beginning." As they left the classroom, Hermione was already deep in thought. "We have to find out who the heir of Slytherin is," she whispered, her brow furrowed. "If we can prove who's behind this, we can stop them before something worse happens." Ron looked less enthusiastic. "And how exactly do we do that?" Hermione's eyes gleamed with determination. "We asterisk ask the person who's most likely to know." Harry frowned. "Who?" She gave him a pointed look. "Draco Malfoy." Harry and Ron exchanged wary glances. If anyone at Hogwarts took pride in his pureblood status, it was Malfoy. If he asterisk was the heir of Slytherin, he certainly knew something about it. The question was, how could they get him to talk? As they walked through the dimly lit corridors, Harry couldn't shake the feeling that something unseen was watching. Something lurking beneath the surface, waiting. The whispers in the walls had not returned, but the message was clear. The chamber had been opened, and the danger was only just beginning. The castle had changed. What was once a place of wonder and warmth now felt colder, heavier, as if the very stones of Hogwarts had absorbed the fear creeping through its corridors. Whispers followed Harry. Wherever he walked, soft murmurs that faded when he passed, glances that lingered a moment too long. Some students seemed to fear him. Others seemed eager to believe the worst. The idea that he might be the heir of Slytherin was spreading like wildfire. But Harry had no time to worry about that. He, Ron, and Hermione had a plan. If anyone in Hogwarts knew who the heir of Slytherin was. It was Draco Malfoy. And if Malfoy wouldn't tell them willingly, they would have to find another way to get the truth. That was where the polyjuice potion came in. Hermione had read about it in Most Potent Potions Asterisk, an advanced book she had borrowed from the restricted section of the library. The potion would allow them to take the form of someone else for an hour, just enough time to sneak into the Slytherin common room and question Malfoy while disguised as his fellow housemates. The problem: the potion was immensely complicated. It required rare ingredients, some of which could only be found in Snape's private stores. That was where things got dangerous. Late one evening, when the castle was quiet, the trio put their plan into motion. Under the cover of darkness, they slipped through the dimly lit corridors, their footsteps muffled by the thick stone floors. The flickering torches cast long shadows as they neared the dungeon, where Snape's office loomed ahead, its wooden door shut tight. Harry's heart pounded. If they were caught, the consequences would be asterisk severe. Hermione, ever prepared, had concocted a distraction. Just as they reached the door, a sudden explosion erupted from the nearby corridor. A loud, hissing cloud of blue smoke billowed outward, sending startled shouts echoing through the halls. It worked. Snape's door flew open, and he swept out, his black robes billowing like a shadow in the night. With a sharp glare, he turned and strode toward the source of the disturbance. This had asterisk better asterisk not be Peeves again. He muttered under his breath. The moment he was gone, Ron and Harry darted inside, their eyes scanning the shelves lined with vials of strange, shimmering liquids. Hermione had given them a list: lacewing flies, bicorn horn, shredded boomslang skin. With hurried hands, they collected the ingredients, stuffing them into their robes, just as hurried footsteps echoed down the corridor. Snape was coming back. They barely had time to slip out the door before he reappeared, his dark eyes narrowing suspiciously as he glanced around. For a moment, Harry was sure he knew. That Snape could asterisk feel the stolen ingredients hidden beneath their robes. But after a long pause, the professor merely turned, his expression unreadable, and shut the door behind him. They had done it. The first part of their plan was complete. For the next few weeks, the abandoned girls' bathroom, haunted by the ever-moaning Myrtle, became their secret brewing ground. The potion bubbled in an old cauldron, its thick, murky surface shifting with each added ingredient. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the polyjuice potion was ready. The plan was simple. They had borrowed a few hairs from Crabbe and Goyle, Malfoy's ever-present lackeys, by tricking them into eating bewitched cakes that had sent them into a deep sleep. Now, all that was left was to drink the potion and slip into the Slytherin common room undetected. Hermione hesitated as she held up a small vial of her own potion. "I got a hair from Millicent Bulstrode," she said, her expression determined. "We'll "We'll meet back here in an hour." With that, they drank. The transformation was instantaneous. Harry doubled over as his skin bubbled and stretched, his hands growing larger, his voice deepening. He felt heavier, his vision slightly different. When he straightened, Ron, now unrecognizable as a stocky, dull-faced Goyle, stared back at him. "This is asterisk, so asterisk weird," Ron muttered, his voice slow and unfamiliar. They hurried from the bathroom, navigating the dim halls toward the Slytherin common room, which lay beneath the castle in the dungeons. The moment they entered, a familiar drawl greeted them. "What took you so long?" Malfoy sneered, lounging on one of the dark green couches. Harry and Ron hesitated, but Malfoy didn't seem suspicious. He waved them over, stretching lazily as the dim firelight flickered across his pale face. "They're saying Potter's the heir of Slytherin," he scoffed, his voice filled with amusement. "Can you imagine? That little half-blood asterisk thinking he's important." Harry clenched his fists, but forced himself to stay silent. He needed to know the truth. So Ron muttered in his new voice, "If it's not him, then who is it?" Malfoy's smirk widened. "I don't know," he admitted. "But my father says the last time the chamber was opened, a Muggle-born died." Harry's stomach twisted. "But it's not Potter," Malfoy continued. "My father says if the chamber's been opened again, the monster will asterisk finish the job this time." The words sent an ice-cold shiver down Harry's spine. The conversation continued, but Malfoy revealed nothing else useful. He did know who had opened the chamber. He only knew the legends, passed down by his father, and he seemed to relish the fear it created. Soon, the polyjuice potion began to wear off. Feeling the changes creeping up on them, Harry and Ron quickly excused themselves and rushed back toward the bathroom. The moment they arrived, they found Hermione hiding behind one of the stalls. "What happened?" Ron asked. She peeked out, only to reveal an asterisk furry face and two twitching asterisk cat ears. Harry's jaw dropped. "Hermione, you're..." "I asterisk no," she groaned. "I must have taken an asterisk cat's hair instead of Millicent Bulstrode." Despite the shock, they didn't have time to waste. Hermione needed to go to the hospital wing, and they needed to process what they had learned. The good news: Malfoy was the heir of Slytherin. The bad news: the danger was worse than they thought. The monster was still out there, and if history repeated itself, someone might not just be petrified. Someone might asterisk die. As Harry lay awake that night, the fear coiling in his chest, he heard it again. "Kill asterisk." The whisper slithered through the walls, unseen but all too real. Something asterisk ancient had awakened, and soon it would strike again. The castle's atmosphere had shifted from quiet unease to outright fear. The whispers in the halls had changed. No longer were they just about Harry. Now, they were filled with dreadful speculation. Who would be next? For days, nothing happened. But the silence only made the tension worse. And then, one evening, the peace shattered. A scream echoed through the corridors. Harry, Ron, and Hermione, who had just left the library, froze at the chilling sound. Without a word, they rushed toward the source, their feet pounding against the stone floor. At the end of the hallway, a crowd had gathered, faces pale and fearful. Pushing through the throng of students, Harry's stomach clenched at the sight before him. Another victim. Colin Creevey lay stiff as stone, his camera clutched in frozen fingers, his small face frozen in a look of shock. His eyes, wide and glassy, stared at something no one else could see. The camera, oddly enough, was melted shut, as if something had burned through it. Dumbledore arrived moments later, his usual twinkling gaze replaced with solemn understanding. He knelt beside Colin, gently examining him before rising to face the worried students. The Chamber of Secrets is indeed open once more, he said gravely. This is no longer a legend. Harry felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. Colin wasn't just petrified. He had been attacked while holding his camera, hopping to catch something in the act. But what had melted the camera shut? Something powerful. Something that did Asterisk want Asterisk to be seen. After Colin was taken to the hospital wing, the school was thrown into a state of heightened security. Students were told not to wander alone. Curfews were stricter than ever. Professors walked the corridors with wary eyes, their hands never far from their wands. Yet, despite all the fear, no one had any answers. But Harry, Ron, and Hermione had Asterisk to find out the truth. One evening, after dinner, Hermione slammed a thick book onto the Gryffindor common room table. Her eyes were bright with determination. "I Asterisk know what the monster is," she whispered excitedly, pointing to a page in the book. Harry and Ron leaned in. "A basilisk," she said. "A giant serpent. Look, it can kill with a single glance. The gaze of a basilisk is instantly fatal to anyone who looks directly into its eyes." Harry felt his heart race. A asterisk giant asterisk snake. The voice he had been hearing, it had been slithering, whispering through the walls. "But Colin is dead, Asterisk," Ron pointed out, frowning. "He's just petrified." Hermione nodded. "That's what I was thinking too. But listen to this. If a person sees the basilisk's eyes indirectly, through a reflection or something else, they will be petrified instead of killed." It all fit. Mrs. Norris, the water beneath her meant she had probably seen the basilisk's reflection. Colin, his camera had melted. But what if he had only seen the basilisk through the lens before it struck? "This has Asterisk to be it," Hermione said. "And there's more. Basilisks move through pipes. That's why you're the only one who can hear it, Harry." His breath caught. "Because I can Asterisk speak Parseltongue Asterisk," he realized. The serpent language. No wonder no one else had heard the voice in the walls. No wonder the attacks had happened so suddenly, with no warning. Ron swallowed hard. So, there's a giant asterisk killer snake slithering around the school, and no one knows where it'll strike next. A heavy silence settled over them, and then something asterisk else dawned on Hermione. Her eyes widened in realization. "I need to check something," she said suddenly, snapping the book shut. "I'll be back soon." Without another word, she rushed out of the common room. Ron frowned. She could have at least told asterisk us what she figured out. But before they could follow her, a loud commotion erupted outside. Students were whispering frantically, running toward the entrance hall. Harry and Ron hurried after them, dread curling in their stomachs. And then they saw it. A new message, glistening wetly on the stone wall. "Her skeleton will lie in the chamber forever." Harry's blood ran cold. "Someone been taken asterisk," Ron whispered. Panic spread through the gathered crowd like wildfire. Professors arrived moments later, their expressions grim. It was McGonagall who finally spoke, her voice heavy with the weight of the moment. "Ginny Weasley," she said. "She has been taken into the Chamber of Secrets." Ron's face drained of color. "My asterisk sister," he choked out. McGonagall didn't answer, but she didn't need to. The meaning was clear. Ginny was gone, and if they didn't act soon, she might never come back. That night, as Hogwarts fell into uneasy silence, Harry and Ron sat in the empty common room, their minds racing. "I don't get it," Ron said, shaking his head. "Why Ginny? Why would the heir of Slytherin take asterisk her asterisk?" Harry's fingers curled against his knee. "Because," he muttered, "Ginny been acting weird all year. Remember? She's been pale, jumpy, she even looked sick when that first message appeared." Ron's face twisted in horror. "You think she knew asterisk something?" Harry hesitated. "I think she's been involved in this somehow. Maybe not by choice." Then footsteps. Harry and Ron shot to their feet just as someone appeared in the doorway. It was Lockhart. The defense against the dark arts professor stood there, looking oddly nervous. But before they could question him, McGonagall's voice rang through the corridor. "All students must return to their dormitories immediately," she announced. "The school is being shut down. The ministry will be arriving in the morning." Harry's heart pounded. "Ron," he whispered, gripping his friend's sleeve, "we don't have time. If we wait until morning, it'll be too late." Ron's face was set with grim determination. "Then what do we do?" Harry turned to Lockhart. "You," he said, voice firm. "You're supposed to be the great hero, right? The one whose asterisk defeated all kinds of dark creatures." Lockhart puffed up his chest. "Well, naturally. Then prove it." The professor blinked. I beg your pardon." "The Chamber of Secrets," Harry said. "You're always bragging about how many monsters you fought. If you're such a hero, help us find it." Lockhart hesitated. A flicker of fear crossed his face. And then, in a whisper so soft Harry almost missed it, the truth slipped out. Lockhart swallowed. I do know where it is. Ron gaped at him. But all your stories. Lockhart looked utterly defeated. They're asterisk fake. Silence fell, and then the anger set in. Harry clenched his fists. This asterisk fraud had been feeding them lies all year, claiming to be a hero, signing autographs, basking in admiration. But when it came down to it, he was nothing but a coward. Fine, Harry said, stepping forward. Then we'll find it ourselves. Ron straightened. Yeah, and you're coming with us. Lockhart sputtered, but he had no choice. Because tomorrow, the Chamber of Secrets asterisk would asterisk be found, and whatever was inside was waiting. The castle was eerily silent as Harry and Ron made their way through the dimly lit corridors, Lockhart stumbling nervously behind them. The walls seemed to press in closer than usual, the flickering torchlight casting elongated shadows across the floor. Every step they took echoed through the empty halls, amplifying the weight of what they were about to do. Ginny was somewhere inside the Chamber of Secrets, and if they didn't reach her in time, she might not come back. Lockhart, despite being dragged along, was doing his best to appear composed. Now, boys, he said, clearing his throat, I do admire your bravery, but perhaps we should leave this too. Ron shot him a glare. You first, Professor. You're the one who's asterisk, so asterisk experienced with monsters, aren't you? Lockhart paled, but said nothing. They hurried through the corridors, their minds racing. The pieces were finally coming together, the basilisk, the whispers in the walls, the attacks. And now, they were on the verge of discovering where the monster had been hiding all this time. Their destination, moaning Myrtle's bathroom. They reached the entrance, the damp air carrying the soft sound of Myrtle's usual sobs. She floated near the sinks, her transparent form shimmering in the candlelight. Oh, she sniffed, her large, round eyes fixing on them. It's you. What do you want? Harry stepped forward. Myrtle, how did you asterisk die? Myrtle blinked in surprise, then sighed dramatically. Oh, asterisk, finally asterisk, someone asks. She sniffled, twirling in midair. It happened right here, asterisk, of course. I was hiding in one of the stalls, crying my eyes out because Olive Hornby was making fun of my glasses. Then, suddenly, I heard asterisk him. Harry's breath caught. You heard asterisk who? A boy's voice, Myrtle whispered, speaking in some asterisk, weird asterisk language. I opened the door to tell him off, and then I saw the eyes. Her translucent form shuddered, and just like that, I died. A chill ran down Harry's spine. It was true. The basilisk had been here all along, slithering through the pipes. But that meant Harry turned to the sink beside Myrtle. Unlike the others, it had a tiny asterisk snake asterisk symbol etched into the metal. His heart pounded. This is it, he murmured. He took a deep breath, leaning in closer. Then, in a voice that sent shivers through even himself, he he spoke a single word in asterisk parcel tongue. Open. A deep, grinding noise filled the air. The sink shifted, twisting downward, revealing a large, dark hole beneath it. The air that seeped out was cold, damp, and ancient, untouched for years. Ron swallowed hard. We're actually asterisk doing this, aren't we? Harry gave a grim nod. Before they could rethink their plan, Lockhart made his move. "Ah, well, boys," he stammered, stepping back. I really must congratulate you on your asterisk detective work. But I think, perhaps I should inform the staff." Ron wasn't having it. With a swift movement, he pointed his wand at Lockhart. "Oh no, you don't." Lockhart, realizing he was cornered, gave a nervous laugh. Then, in one desperate motion, he lunged, snatching Ron's wand right out of his hand. "I really can't have you two running around telling everyone I'm a fraud," Lockhart declared, straightening his robes. "So, I suppose I'll have to erase your memories. Don't worry, it's a very simple charm." Ron groaned. "Not again." Lockhart raised the wand, grinning smugly. "Obliviate." Boom. A violent explosion blasted through the chamber. The spell rebounded as soon as it left the wand, Ron's broken wand, sending Lockhart flying backward. He crashed against the stone wall, blinking in confusion. "Who am I?" he murmured dazedly. Ron scowled, dusting himself off. Brilliant. He's wiped his own asterisk memory. But there was no time to focus on Lockhart now. The explosion had caused part of the tunnel to collapse asterisk. Large chunks of rock now separated Harry from Ron. Harry scrambled to the rubble, shouting, "Ron, are you okay?" Ron coughed, his voice muffled. "Yeah, but there's no way through, Harry. You're gonna have to go on without me." Harry hesitated, but there was no other choice. Ginny was running out of time. "I'll find her," he promised. "Stay here, I'll be back." With one last glance at Ron through the cracks in the rubble, Harry turned and descended alone into the darkness. The passage twisted and turned, the air growing colder with each step. His breath came out in soft puffs, and the damp stone beneath his feet was slick with time and neglect. Then finally, he stepped into a vast, asterisk hidden chamber. The ceiling arched high above him, supported by enormous stone pillars entwined with carved serpents. At the far end of the room, looming in the shadows, stood an asterisk monstrous statue of Salazar, Slytherin himself. His stone face carved with an expression of eerie calm. And at the foot of the statue, Ginny Weasley lay, motionless. Harry's heart leapt. He ran toward her, dropping to his knees. "Ginny." His voice trembled as he shook her gently. "Ginny, wake up." She was pale, her breathing faint. It was as if something was slowly draining the life from her. Then a voice. "I wouldn't bother, Harry Potter." Harry froze. A figure stood nearby, tall and eerily familiar. A boy no older than 16 dressed in Hogwarts robes. His dark eyes gleamed as he watched Harry with an amused expression. "I think," the boy continued, stepping forward. "She's almost gone." Harry's grip on Ginny tightened. "Who asterisk are you?" The boy's lips curved into a slow, knowing smile. "My name," he said softly, "is Asterisk Tom Riddle." Harry's blood turned to ice. He knew Asterisk, that name. He had seen it before written inside the asterisk diary. Realization hit like a thunderclap. "You," Harry whispered. "You're the one who's been controlling her. You made her open the chamber. You made her write the messages." "Yes," Riddle interrupted smoothly, tilting his head. "Ginny poured her heart into my diary, telling me all her fears, her secrets, her soul." He glanced at her limp form with mild amusement. "And in return, I grew stronger. Strong enough to finally step out of the pages." Harry's stomach twisted. "You're not an asterisk memory, are you?" Riddle's grin widened. "No, Harry, I am something much more." He took a slow step closer. "And thanks to Ginny, I have asterisk enough strength asterisk to finish what I started all those years ago." Harry clenched his fists. "You mean when you blamed Hagrid?" "Oh yes," Riddle mused. "Poor, clueless Hagrid. It was easy to frame him back then. But now I have asterisk you." Harry didn't have time to react before Riddle asterisk raised his hand, and the asterisk chamber began to stir. The stone-carved mouth of Salazar Slytherin shifted, opening wider, and from the depths of darkness, something massive asterisk began to emerge. The asterisk basilisk, a great, slithering shadow curled from the statue's mouth, scales gleaming like wet metal in the dim light. The air filled with the sound of something enormous asterisk moving. Riddle's smile widened. "Say hello to my basilisk, Harry." The asterisk monster's asterisk head rose high above him, its forked tongue flickering, its sightless eyes turning toward him, waiting. And then, with a whispered command from Riddle, it asterisk struck. The basilisk lunged. Harry barely had time to throw himself to the ground as the massive serpent struck, its jaws snapping shut just inches from where he had stood. The force of its attack sent a rush of stale, cold air through the chamber, stirring the dust that had lain undisturbed for centuries. Scrambling to his feet, Harry's heart pounded like a drum. The basilisk loomed above him, its long, coiled body shifting like liquid shadow between the towering stone pillars. Though its enormous, yellowed fangs dripped with venom, its eyes asterisk, the deadliest part of its being remained blind, torn and useless from the furious attack of Dumbledore's phoenix. Phoenix. Harry barely had time to register the thought before a sudden, brilliant flash of red exploded into the chamber. Fawkes, Dumbledore's magnificent phoenix, soared through the air, his feathers glowing like embers against the cold darkness. In his talons, something glinted, small, silver, and deadly. A sword, the asterisk sword of Gryffindor. The moment it landed beside him, Harry didn't hesitate. He lunged for it. The cool metal felt solid, powerful in his grasp. The blade, long and gleaming, caught the dim light of the chamber as he raised it with both hands, his fingers tightening around the ruby-studded hilt. The basilisk's head swayed, sensing his movement, its long tongue flickering as it tasted the air. Then, with a low, asterisk horrible hiss, it struck again. Harry asterisk ran. The serpent's massive coils crashed against the stone, shaking the very walls as Harry sprinted between the pillars, weaving and dodging, his breath sharp and fast. The sword felt heavy in his grasp, but he refused to let go. From somewhere behind him, Riddle's voice echoed in the vast chamber. "You can't run forever, Harry," he taunted, his voice smooth, almost amused. "The basilisk can still hear you." He was right. The asterisk beast turned sharply asterisk, locking onto the sound of Harry's footsteps, its vast body rippling with unnatural speed. Then Harry's foot asterisk slipped. He skidded on the damp stone, landing hard against the floor. Pain flared through his side, but before he could move, the basilisk's head asterisk lowered toward him, its jaw opening wide, revealing those enormous, glistening fangs. There was no time. Harry threw himself forward, asterisk, raising the sword of Gryffindor with every last bit of strength he had, and plunged it asterisk deep into the roof of the basilisk's mouth. A shriek, so loud it shook the chamber, erupted from the serpent's throat. The beast reared back violently, its body writhing, its great tail smashing against the walls, sending debris cascading from the ceiling. But as Harry stumbled backward, gasping for breath, he felt it, a sharp, burning pain in his arm. He looked down. A basilisk fang was embedded deep in his flesh. His fingers trembled as he pulled it free, but the damage had already been done. The venom was spreading. A wave of icy fire coursed through his veins, his vision blurring at the edges. The sword clattered from his grasp, his knees weakening beneath him. He staggered, the world tilting, and from the shadows, Tom Riddle laughed. "Brave but foolish," he said smoothly, stepping closer. "Even with my basilisk slain, you still lose, Harry Potter. Do you know why?" Harry's breathing was ragged. He could barely stay standing, let alone respond. "Because basilisk venom has no cure," Riddle continued, his dark eyes gleaming. "In mere moments, you'll be dead. And with you gone, asterisk I will finally return. And Hogwarts," he smiled, "Hogwarts will be mine." Harry collapsed to his knees. He could feel the venom tightening around his chest, like invisible chains dragging him down. His fingers curled weakly against the stone floor. His vision wavered, and then through the haze of pain, a flash of red. Fawkes, the phoenix, landed gracefully beside him. his bright golden eyes filled with something impossibly ancient and knowing. With a soft, asterisk melodic trill, Fawkes bent his head over Harry's wound. A single asterisk tear, asterisk fell. Then another. The moment they touched his skin, the pain vanished. The burning venom, the darkness that had begun to pull him under asterisk was gone. Tom Riddle's expression asterisk changed. His triumphant smirk twisted into something else. Confusion, disbelief, then growing asterisk horror. "No," he whispered. Harry's strength returned. He rose. Riddle stepped back, his eyes flicking wildly to the asterisk diary, asterisk. The very thing that had sustained him, that had allowed him to rise from the shadows. Harry asterisk grabbed the basilisk fang from the floor. Tom Riddle's expression twisted into rage. No, with asterisk one final strike, asterisk Harry drove the fang deep into the heart of the diary. A horrible asterisk piercing shriek asterisk filled the air. The ink within the diary asterisk exploded outward asterisk, sizzling and smoking as it bled into the stone. Riddle clutched his chest, his form flickering, distorting, and then, with a final, shuddering asterisk scream, he was asterisk gone. The diary lay motionless on the ground, its pages burned through, its magic destroyed. For a long moment, all was still. Then, a asterisk soft gasp. Harry turned sharply. "Ginny." She stirred, her pale fingers twitching against the stone floor as color slowly returned to her face. Her eyes fluttered open, dazed, confused, alive. Harry exhaled shakily, dropping to his knees beside her. "Ginny." She looked up at him, her expression flickering between panic and relief. "Harry, I don't remember what happened." Harry shook his head. "It's okay," he murmured. "It's over." Fawkes let out a quiet, victorious asterisk chirp asterisk as he settled beside them, his warm presence soothing. From behind the collapsed rocks, Ron's muffled voice rang out. "Harry." Harry grinned, feeling the weight finally lift from his chest. It was over. The Chamber of Secrets had been asterisk sealed, and Tom Riddle was asterisk gone. The echoes of battle still lingered in the chamber, the scent of ancient stone and basilisk blood thick in the air. Ginny trembled beside Harry, her breath uneven, her fingers clinging weakly to his sleeve. But she was asterisk alive. That was all that mattered. From behind the wall of fallen rubble, Ron's voice called out again, more frantic this time. "Harry, Ginny, are you okay? What happened?" Harry pushed himself up, still feeling the dull ache in his limbs. "It's over," he called back, his voice hoarse but certain. "The basilisk is dead." And so is, he hesitated, glancing at the ruined diary, its pages still sizzling with ink. Riddle. A heavy silence followed. Then Ron let out a breath of sheer relief. Thank Merlin. Now get back here. This place is creepy as hell. Harry helped Ginny to her feet, steadying her as they turned toward Fawkes. The phoenix, ever watchful, spread his great crimson wings and gave a gentle asterisk chirp before soaring into the air, circling them with warm, golden light. As if understanding their need, Fawkes swooped low, offering his tail feathers for them to hold. Grab on, Harry told Ginny, wrapping one arm around her to support her weight. She nodded weakly, still shaken but trusting. As soon as they took hold, a powerful warmth enveloped them. The chamber blurred, the ancient stones dissolving into streaks of gold and red. Then, in an instant, they were soaring asterisk upward. The next thing they knew, they had asterisk emerged. The soft candlelight of Hogwarts welcomed them back as they landed smoothly in a quiet corridor near McGonagall's office. Ron stumbled backward, dragging a dazed Lockhart behind him, his expression torn between relief and sheer exhaustion. Ginny swayed slightly, eyes wide, before asterisk Mrs. Weasley asterisk burst into the hallway, her face pale with terror. Ginny, she gasped. In an instant, she asterisk swept her daughter into her arms, asterisk her grip trembling as she clutched Ginny close, rocking her as if to reassure herself this was real. Mr. Weasley stood behind her, his normally calm expression shattered by pure worry. What happened? He demanded, his voice tight. How did she? Dumbledore stepped forward. He had been waiting. His bright blue eyes softened as he looked from Ginny to Harry. I believe, he murmured, Harry has a story to tell. So Harry told them asterisk everything. About the diary, about Ginny's slow possession by Tom Riddle, about the basilisk lurking within the walls of Hogwarts. He told them about the whispers he had heard, the way Ginny had poured her fears into the diary, unknowingly allowing Riddle to grow stronger. As he spoke, Ginny clung to her mother, tears spilling silently down her cheeks. I didn't mean to, she whispered. I couldn't stop. He made me do things. I couldn't control it. Mrs. Weasley only hugged her tighter. It wasn't your fault, my love, she soothed. None of this was your fault. When Harry finally finished, the room fell into stunned silence. Dumbledore, however, merely nodded. Incredible, he murmured, his voice filled with quiet pride. Once again, Harry, you have shown great courage in the face of darkness. His gaze flickered to Fawkes, who sat calmly on Harry's shoulder, and then to the asterisk sword of Gryffindor asterisk, still clutched in Harry's grip. Only a true Gryffindor could have pulled that sword from the hat, Dumbledore mused. And only someone of great heart would have done so to save another. Harry shifted, slightly embarrassed. I didn't do it alone, he admitted. Fawkes helped. Ron was there, and Hermione. His chest tightened. Hermione. He spun toward Dumbledore. She's still petrified. So is Colin Creevey, and Justin, and Dumbledore raised a hand, his smile twinkling once more. Worry not, Harry. The mandrake potion has been brewed. By this time tomorrow, they will all be restored. Harry felt a weight lift from his chest. Hermione was going to be asterisk, okay. But before the relief could fully settle, the office door burst open. Lucius Malfoy stood in the doorway. His cold, sharp gaze swept across the room, his platinum hair gleaming under the candlelight. And beside him, looking nervous yet hopeful, stood asterisk Dobby. The house elf's large green eyes flickered to Harry for the briefest moment. Lucius, however, paid him no mind. His face was carefully controlled, his voice slow and dangerous. So, he drawled, it appears the great Albus Dumbledore has returned. Dumbledore merely smiled. Indeed, I have. Lucius' pale fingers curled against his cane. I was under the impression you had been asterisk removed from this school, Headmaster. Dumbledore inclined his head. Funny thing about that, he said lightly. The governor seemed to have had a change of heart. Lucius' jaw tightened. I see. Harry stepped forward, heart pounding. He knew. Lucius had asterisk given Ginny that diary. He had started this entire nightmare, but there was no proof. Then, out of the corner of his eye, Harry saw Dobby. The house elf was trembling, his eyes darting toward Lucius with obvious fear. But when he met Harry's gaze, something passed between them. An understanding, a asterisk plea. Harry's stomach asterisk twisted. Dobby had tried to warn him. He had tried to stop him from going to Hogwarts, had tried to protect him from the danger Lucius Malfoy himself had set in motion. And now he was still a prisoner. An idea sparked. Harry took a deep breath and picked up the diary. It was ruined, blackened with basilisk venom, but it still held asterisk power, and Lucius Malfoy knew it. With a perfectly casual expression, Harry walked toward him. I believe this belongs to you, he said lightly. Lucius' icy gaze flickered to the book, and then, to his credit, his lips twitched, just barely. I don't know what you're talking about, Potter. Harry didn't reply. He simply held out the diary. Lucius hesitated, but after a long, silent pause, he took it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Harry added, in the most innocent tone he could manage, asterisk. Oh, and I thought Dobby might like it too. And with that, he shoved a sock into the pages. Lucius barely had time to react before Dobby's trembling fingers caught the book. And then the realization hit. Dobby froze. His large, bat-like ears twitched. His green eyes widened. He lifted the sock slowly, as if unable to believe what he was seeing. Lucius whirled on Harry, his pale face twisting in fury. You. But Dobby's voice cut through the room. Dobby is free. A heavy silence fell. Lucius, fingers curled into fists. But before he could react, Asterisk Dobby raised his hand. With a small, sharp flick of his fingers, a sudden force sent Lucius staggering backward. "You shall not harm Harry Potter." Lucius' face burned with rage, but he did not fight back. Instead, he turned sharply, his cloak billowing behind him. "You'll regret this," he hissed at Harry. Then, without another word, he stormed from the room. The moment he was gone, Dobby let out a small shaky breath. Then he turned to Harry, and he bowed. Harry Potter freed Dobby. Harry smiled. For the first time in his life, Dobby was free. And as Harry left the office, stepping back into the warmth of Hogwarts, he knew one thing for certain. He was finally going home.